guys, so welcome back to my channel. It's been like the longest time, but I want to start actually filming more. So I guess I'll just get right into today's conversation. So I want to talk more about having inner peace because I feel like a lot of people in today's generation, or just more people like in general, are just miserable and they just feel like they don't have an outlet in today's time, and that they just have to go through this continuous cycle of suffering and being sad and depressed all the time. And honestly, life is what you make it. So if you want to continue suffering, you want to continue being miserable, you want to keep being a miserable ass person, then you can do that. But there's different ways to navigate it and actually find inner peace. Personally, I'm a Buddhist. We don't really like have a religion. Like we kind of just focus on like meditation and relaxation and inner peace. So what I do on a daily basis that I usually recommend to people is like meditating. And if you don't like meditating, honestly, you can like maybe go to a yoga class, or maybe pick up a dance class, or maybe like pick up a new hobby or sports, like something that causes you relaxation, inner peace, whatever you want to describe it. Being nicer to yourself. A lot of people aren't nice to themselves enough. They put themselves down too much. They kind of downplay themselves. Like maybe they think they're not smart enough, or they're too stupid, yada yada, all those negative things. So just being nicer to yourself can also be a key to inner peace, because a lot of people don't love themselves enough. And I feel like if you don't love yourself enough, that you're going to struggle in life. Like you're not going to push yourself to do better, want to be better, treat others better, treat yourself better. They kind of all just like come together in a sense. Another thing that I really honestly like to do, that I feel like a lot of people should start doing more, is spending time in nature. Like, and that doesn't mean having to be around a bunch of bees and snakes and a bunch of animals and stuff. I just mean just being around, maybe just like be sitting in the grass, or maybe finding your favorite tree to sit in, or like going to the beach or something. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be just trees and grass, and like it could be anything involving nature and just being outside generally and connecting with nature more. I feel like more people should do that. Sometimes you just need that alone time to sit by a river with you alone and just your thoughts, and just like the silence and hearing everything around you just functioning. Like it's a nice thing to experience. Like generally, like being in solitude is a nice thing sometimes to do. And I feel like a lot of people are just so scared of being alone and all this type of stuff. And honestly, I can say that I used to be like that as well. But once I started to get to know myself better, spending more time with myself and figuring out what I actually like doing, and I guess choosing what to be around, that's when I started finding a whole lot of inner peace. Once you find inner peace, I feel like you have these boundaries and you know what you want to be around, and things don't get you as irritated and angry anymore as they used to, because you've established that inner peace with yourself. Like nothing can really get to you. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean you can't be angry ever or can't be sad ever. It's okay to experience emotions, because us as humans, we're going to experience emotions in this lifetime in general. That's just the human experience. Having emotions and going through them is just one of them. But you just don't want to stay in that mindset for a long time. You don't want to be depressed for a long time. You don't want to be sad for a long time. You don't want to be suicidal for a long time. You don't want to be anything negative for a long time. But at the same time, this is life. So as long as you're going to be happy, you want to, I not want to, but you have to expect bad times to come. And when you're sad or depressed, you should expect good things to come, because that's just life. That's the balance with having yin and yang, with good and bad things. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows all the time, unfortunately. But when you establish that inner peace, you understand that cycle, and you just let things flow with the way as they are and go with them. And just making your reality yours, really, honestly, instead of living up to anybody else's expectations, or specifically maybe like a parent's expectations, or like a friend's, or like you're living your own life. Because if you're listening to what everybody else is saying, you're not living your own life. You don't have inner peace because you're busy living somebody else's life and not the one you want to live. So just listening to like really thoughtful music that you like can be a key to inner peace, especially when it's like certain lyrics that you understand or you relate to a whole lot, or there's certain chords you might like that just bring your soul inner peace. I like to listen to a lot of classical music. Yes, I like just regular piano music sometimes, especially while I'm like reading or studying for anything. Like whenever I'm having like my relaxation time, I'm not listening to hardcore hip hop or like heavy metal or anything. I listen to classical music, especially when I'm alone in those quiet times. I also feel like working on your anger or like any type of impatience that you experience, because if you don't have any patience, you're never going to be satisfied with yourself or feel like you're not doing enough, because you feel like everything should just be, and everything is not going to come as fast as, like, you have to be able to, like, patience. I don't know if you've ever heard people say this, which I literally tell people all the time, but patience literally is a virtue. Like, you have to have a lot of patience, like, pretty much in all things in life. It evolves around having patience. If you don't have patience, then you're going to be a really angry, selfish person, because you're rushing things that aren't meant to be rushed. You have to like flow with the process. You have to understand the process and be with the process and trust the process. But if you have impatience, then you're not really trusting the process. You know what I'm saying? And people are so stuck in their own ways that one thing you have to realize is that if you want that inner peace, you might have to change a lot of habits and patterns that you keep continuing and doing it a whole lot differently, especially when it comes to responding to negativity or just dealing with any complications in life. You want to be able to like battle those and handle those a certain way when those things come towards your way, because honestly, if you think about it, it takes a lot of effort and drainage to be depressed and to be sad when it comes to certain life circumstances. Like, you don't want to be extremely frustrated or bawling your eyes out all the time and just a whole lot of negative stuff, because nobody wants to feel like that on a daily basis, especially people that like may have like mental illness and like, or like some type of like chronic depression and deal with it consistently. Nobody wants to deal with that every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, once you realize you're living the life the way you want to, you're being happy the way you want to, you're doing what you want to, not caring what others think about you or who they want you to be, having more of a pure heart instead of being so negative and inflicting it on others around you. You really want to be that light in this life, and it doesn't have to be in someone else's life, but you want to be the light in your own life. Well, I'm the light in my own, so I have plenty of other lights in my life as well, but I like to be my own light in my world too. People just like read into the media too much. Like, they don't have inner peace because most of the time all they just see down their feed is just hate and racism and people being homophobes and all just this negative energy. People just seeing sad TikToks, and then they keep liking those videos, and then their feed decides to keep showing them those depressing videos, and oh, you don't need to get out of bed today. If you don't want to eat today, you shouldn't feel like it, and just all this negativity and crazy stuff. You're not going to have any inner peace, especially if that's all your media and your pages are showing you, because it's not teaching you anything. It's not helping anything. It's just letting you loathe in your own pity even more. These depressing pages, like, they're like sympathetic, but they're not really so empathetic. Like, they feel bad for you, but then what else? They feel bad for you, and what? They're gonna make you feel even more bad and make you loathe even more your own pity and your situation and how you feel. What is that doing? Let's just be real. It's not doing anything. It's just making you feel even more shitty. And I guess there's no really avoiding it, because there's always gonna be negative stuff on the media, but the issue comes is when you let it like consume you. Like, you can't let the negative stuff on the media consume you. People that have inner peace, they go about the media and they watch whatever they want, see whatever they want, and they go about their day and live their regular life and continue to be happy. People that let the media consume them and don't have any inner peace, they let it consume them. They start being maybe like even more insecure about themselves than they already feel, or they start projecting that on everybody else, or they see something and they just assume that's who they are because they don't love themselves and they don't know themselves. Like, You cannot let the media consume you. Also, don't want to feed into it either, because sometimes you can choose what media is on your page. Like, you can block certain pages, you can unfriend certain people, you can unfollow certain people. Do the things you can that are in your control. The things that are out of your control, don't try to control them, because all you're going to do is stress yourself out. You don't want to stress yourself out, because you're only stressing yourself out. Like, stressing yourself out is like you stressing yourself out, not you unwillingly getting stressed out. You're letting the media stress you out, because the media is just always going to be the media. You know, if you try paying attention to more like maybe motivational videos or more inspiring videos or more positivity. Like, if you could control trying not to have the negative stuff in your feed, do that. If you can control not seeing certain people's posts and all the like the hateful things, if you can control that, try and do it. But if there's certain things you can't help, just let it be as it is. But as I said, you're in control of your feelings, what you see, what is, what isn't. And if you haven't been in control of those things, then you don't have inner peace, unfortunately. You just want to make every experience somehow turn out positive. You don't want to have a negative aspect on everything, because having those negative traits is probably just going to lead you to end up being a shitty person. We have enough shitty people in this world. You don't want to add on to that. Let's try and make a difference, because we don't need more shitty people. We don't. And having a lot of more compassion and love instead of hate as well, because you don't want to be filled with a bunch of rage and hate. 9 times out of 10, the way you feel about yourself, that's kind of how you're going to treat other people. Like, if you're not really too happy with your circumstances, you're going to see other people living good, and that might make you upset. That might make you mad. And you might just end up being a fucking hater, because you're not okay with your circumstances and you see other people, I guess, quote unquote, living better than you, and that makes you mad. Now you're pissy and acting like the way other people live isn't right, because you're not living the way you want to live. And I guess it's not right to you. Which isn't fair to treat other people like that, because everybody is on their own path. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of our journeys look different. So certain things might not be occurring for you as the same time as everybody else is, but your time will come. You just have to be patient. Another key to inner peace, which is probably like one of my top ones that I should have probably already talked about, is like having detachment. And I don't mean necessarily like being detached and just nonchalant, just not having a care in anything because nothing matters and we're just living in the moment. I don't mean necessarily like being nonchalant in a sense. Like, I just mean being able to establish like a sense of like calmness and not deeply being too rooted with anything. Just sticking to your true self and not like letting yourself like fall back on anything really and getting too attached to anything, because most things are temporary. You need to be able to learn to be okay with circumstances, whether they're going your way or not. For instance, like, let's just say you were dating somebody for like 3 years and you guys broke up, and you let it affect your life and how the way they treated you for a whole year. Which I don't want to say is not okay, because you want to be able to process the breakup. Obviously, you're going to be sad and miss them. But at the same time, you have to understand there's other good people out there that might be there for you. Not everybody's going to maybe treat you shitty the way they possibly did. You want to be able to be okay with being alone and having that solitude. Because if you feel like you're always having to need somebody around, you'll never be okay with being in your own body and living with yourself, just living with yourself in general, because you always feel the need to have somebody around and you don't. And it's okay to be in love and be with people, but at the same time, you want to be able to have detachment in everything. So the moment they decide to leave or start treating you some type of way, you want to be able to be okay with being alone. Even if it's for a bit, even if like you end up going on a bunch of different dates or whatever, you still have to learn to be okay with being alone, because you're going to end up being caught in a cycle of suffering because you feel the need to always have somebody around, and you don't. Once you think about it, you don't always need somebody around. All you really need is you. You don't need anybody. You want to have people around. And it's okay to want to have your friends around, your family around, but you don't necessarily need anybody if you think about it. You want to be able to be dependent on yourself, not a partner, not anybody. So honestly, I think I've said enough about inner peace. I'm pretty sure we all know how to establish inner peace at this point. It's all about applying like these skills to your life and actually like experiencing and living it, because somebody could tell you so much advice, honestly, and it's up to you whether you want to take it or not. Somebody could tell you so many things, but it's up to you at the end of the day to make your own decisions. I state my case. Guess I'll see you guys in the next video podcast. And if you liked this one and liked whatever advice or speech that I decided to give you, give this video a thumbs up. Maybe put something in the comments if you feel like it. I don't know. Do whatever you want. Bye, friends.